There is an old legend that I think is particularly important about this time in our world. So get ready for story time on this episode of Out of the Box. Welcome back to Out of the Box, the series where unconventional thinking leads to extraordinary living. I'm your host, Elizabeth Miner, CEO and founder of Thrive This Day, and I'm a life coach. So today I wanted to share a story, and you may have heard this one before. It is an old legend from a grandfather talking to a little boy. And the legend talks about the grandfather sharing the story about the fact that there are two wolves inside each of us. And these wolves represent the darkness in ourselves, the fear and all the dark feelings that swirl around us, and the lightness in each of us, the optimism, the joy, and the promise that lies within each of us. And he goes on to talk about how these two wolves face off and are approaching each other as if in a fight, almost at all times in our lives. And when the young boy asks the grandfather, well, which of these wolves wins? The grandfather says, the one you feed. Now, there's all sorts of thoughts around this, and mainly it talks about what we're doing with the things that go on in our lives. What are we feeding in our lives? You see, we're living in an unprecedented time. Whether you're thinking about the situations that are going on in Africa or in Hong Kong or the US, there are no limits to the amount of toxic and dark situations we're facing in our world. We are a global community, and everywhere we look, there are areas of crisis. And if you are also looking around, everywhere we look, there's opportunity and promise of future. Now, this is not about toxic positivity, but this is about what we feed ourselves. It is about taking control of the feeding dish. You see, I found myself very recently in a bit of a free fall. I got caught up in the negative energy that was surrounding me in regards to this US election. I found myself in a free fall, in a swirl of toxic thoughts, of negativity, and of fear, frankly, for what the future held. And as I found myself in this free fall, this story came to memory, and it actually helped me. And I'm hoping that if you're finding yourself, be it for the US election or any other reason, I hope that this might help you in the way that it helped me. So there's a couple of things that I recommend that you think about if you find yourself in this situation. So the first is recognize it and think about what exactly is it about the situation around you that's got you in this state of overwhelm or fear or whatever it is that you're feeling. What specifically is it about this that you are feeling so that you can have an idea, not that, it's just the world is upside down, but what specifically is causing that? The second step I'd like you to think about doing, and I wholeheartedly encourage you to do, is find out what's feeding that. And I'm just going to go out on a limb and take a bet that it probably involves news coverage and social media, one or the other or both. And if those are feeding this sense of fear and overwhelm, I'm gonna encourage you. You've got enough information. Shut them down. And this is not to say stop being informed, because that's not what I'm saying at all. But I'm gonna think that you're already informed enough of what you need. So turn it off and take what you have as enough to get started. And the third step, and really the important step, is try to figure out where you have power. So if you're feeling like you're overwhelmed with what's going on in US politics, think about where you can make a difference. Can you speak to some friends? Can you volunteer for an organization that you believe is doing things that you want to amplify in the world? Can you find a space of people that are doing things that you want to support, even if it's just from the sidelines quietly? Is there something that you can do to actually feed that positivity, feed that lightness, feed the light that you would like to bring to the situation? Because there's nothing that is going on anywhere in the world that could not use more positive energy thrown into the mix. And I'm not saying that your little piece is going to change the world, but I can tell you that your little piece with someone else's little piece is what makes change happen. So don't get discouraged because you can't create world peace. Get encouraged that your little piece is pieces of what creates world change. And then the final piece is understand that everything in this world that we are going through has a beginning, a middle, and an end. You have to understand nothing lasts forever. So as Winston Churchill famously was quoted to say, and I love this saying, if you are going through hell, please keep going. Just keep going, because you're going to get through this if you keep going. Don't stop. Don't sit in it. Just keep going. So those are my 4 steps if you find yourself in the swirl. And I'm just going to ask you, take back your power and decide, which wolf are you going to choose to feed? It's all within your power. So that's my unconventional thinking for you today, and I hope you find this helpful. And feel free to jot a note down in the comments below and let me know how this lands for you. What wolf might you start feeding? I'm Elizabeth Miner, and this is my unconventional thinking for your extraordinary living. I'll be back next week. Until then, ciao.